here are some things that you're going to want to say. Don't say them. They're dumb.
Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Fishing Without Bait. We're continuing our conversation with Joanna Lowe, anchor, and dealing with deep, profound grief.
That removes everything. If I know that I'm capable of loving again, and that, because that fixes this, and it doesn't. People are
so
just
when
desperate.
A person's a close friend of yours, people would say, what do I do? How do I handle this? How do I be with this person? What is your suggestions?
That's a hard one. I wrote, and I'm taking it to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Scotland this August. I wrote a one-woman show called Widow. So very subtle title. You have no idea what it's about. But one of the things that I wrote into it is 5 things not to say to a widow. So it's storytelling, it's telling the story, but it's also teaching an audience how to love the griever. And here are some things that you're going to want to say. Don't say them. They're dumb. How are you is just an idiotic question. And if you know what the person is going through, come up with something better. Anything better. The thing is there are no right answers. Some people want to be left alone. And with me, and this has taken a lot of self-reflection. Thank God I had an incredible family of very, like, the best friends in the world. I didn't care if I was left alone. I was in my house, and alone was my natural state now, and I wasn't doing it. I did not care. If I didn't miss anyone, I was done, and I was happy. And so regardless of whether I wanted to see people, friends were gently persistent to go, like, do you want me to show up? Do you not? I'm like, it really doesn't matter. You don't need to do that. And they were like, I will be there. I will come and sit. My brother, they made a schedule so that I wasn't left alone. I had people sleeping on my couch on suicide watch, and I didn't care. And that's one of the things with with being suicidal, is it's not always like seeking out. It's not caring and wishing. Like I wasn't taking action because I knew that I needed to stick around for my child, logically, even if I didn't want to. I didn't care. I remember I almost got hit by a van because I didn't see it coming, and it would have absolutely taken me out. And I remember after I stopped and jumped back, my reaction, it wasn't fear. It wasn't, oh my, I almost died. It was, that's surprising. I almost died. I didn't care. And so I was waiting to not survive. I really hoped that I would not survive, and it didn't feel possible to survive it. So some people want to be left alone, and it's not the best thing for them, but you also need to give people space. And my wonderful mother-in-law, she always had a place where I could get alone. And people, because I have the best people in the world in my life, if I was alone on the back porch, people would, do you mind if I join you? Is it okay? Do you want to be alone? And so people respected my space, and I could be like, no, it's okay. You can join me out here. Or I could just say, nope, I'm going to fuck off to my room. And they were like, great, you take your space. So everybody is different, but it's really easy for, when you're grieving, you're going to feel alone no matter what. And maybe it's just like asking someone who's depressed what they need, but that's putting more on the depressed person to come up with an answer. So you can stop by and make sure that they've had some water, not just some whiskey. See if they'll take a walk with you. Or like my brother, when I would be like, no, it's okay, you don't need to. And he's like, I'm just going to come over. You don't have to talk. I'm just going to sit with you. Fine. Fine. You'll keep me company. So, and I didn't feel any, because again, I made that promise to myself that I didn't feel anybody else telling me, ooh, that's a lot, Joanna. You are crying a lot. This is dramatic. I didn't put those limitations on myself. I went through it as I was going through it. I cried when I needed to. I talked about what I needed to. And my family and my friends were there and they would listen. And I look back at certain situations that were just so raw and volatile and violently, like explosive with grief. And I go, that was a lot. And it's perfectly appropriate for what I was going through.
Were you able to give yourself permission to think and feel how you thought and felt?
I promised that. That was the one thing that I did. And I know that it was a gift to myself. It didn't feel like it. That was a rebellion against God, against Carl, against society, against my friends, where that was the thing that I would do. I would feel everything and I wouldn't hide it at all because that's what I deserved.
Sometimes grief can manifest itself as anger.
I also experienced anger. I was talking with my friend Lauren, and we talked about something and how I was, and she asked me if I was still angry. And I said, yes, I am still angry with God. I'm still angry with Carl. And I got rage goosebumps talking about it. And, but I wasn't just angry, but I was furious and disappointed and betrayed. All of those things. And I know that those display in different ways for different people.
Hi, Jim Ellermeyer from Fishing Without Bait, the behavioral health therapist who helps people explode into their lives through full impact mindfulness. As most of you know, I'm in long-term recovery from drug and alcohol addiction, and one of my favorite things to do is have motivational talks at rehabs and various places where I can be of use. Now, contrary to popular belief, 12-step recovery is not about drugs, alcohol, gambling, or the 100 other groups that use 12-step behavioral change techniques. It's about having a change in your thoughts and a change in your actions. If you're interested in having a motivational speaker with interactive audience participation, we would be glad to provide that. The message that can interest people has to have depth and weight. And if you'd care to discuss that with us, if you'd care to discuss that with me, we'd be glad to show you and give you some information and tell you maybe some videos about our behavioral change techniques and how we incorporate that into our talk. You can find out more information from fishingwithoutbait.com. People want to help. People want to assist. How would you suggest someone be present in someone's life without being intrusive or smothering?
Some people would send a check-in, just a text, whether it's a meme, whether some people call that pebbling, where it's like, here's a meme, just letting you know, or just the check-in text, once a day even. And if they didn't hear back after 3 texts, they were like, just let me know, just one. Okay, here's a heart, or here's a something. So I didn't have a responsibility. People knew that I wasn't answering the phone. Because phone calls, are you kidding? No. I wasn't answering the phone. So text became, and you have that distance with texts. You have that little bit of removal. So nobody's in your face. Because when I really, really needed to cry, I do that on my own. When that gut wrenching, curled up in a fetal position, scream sobbing, I do that by myself. And I don't want anybody touching me. We had a dog briefly, and the dog was like, must touch human who is crying, and I hated it. I'm like, no, 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 this is mine. This is mine. And so touch, maybe even something as small as that, can be the difference between feeling violated and smothered or not. And even asking permission to come into the room. If you know they're not eating, then you could say, I'd love a hug, but I could also just drop the lasagna off on the porch. And then at least you're laying eyes on the person that you want to be supporting. It really, it's an excellent question, and it's a terrible thing to have to answer, because there really isn't a right way. And the way that I grieve is very different from the way that my friend Lauren grieved. And everybody will go through it extremely different and have entirely different needs.
So your whole world went to opposite land.
Yes.
And how did this affect your daughter? And I know your daughter.
So Haven's relationship, as you know, with her father is conflicted, as is my relationship with her father. Carl was the only dad she's ever had. And she said that. And then she lost him just after she found out what a real family is supposed to be. So she also lost her family, her siblings, her home, and her dad. I was so glad that it happened when Haven was old enough to remember what a healthy relationship looked like. So she saw what that looked like for me and Carl, so she can strive for that in her own life, and what a healthy family looked like. So I was glad that she was old enough to remember, and for that to leave such a massive impression on her. But losing your husband is different than losing a parent, is different from, and while she was, of course, devastated and grieving, Haven functioned and I didn't. And I remember hearing in movies and books and from people how people always talked about being hurt or disappointed or traumatized because they knew their parents had hidden things from them. They weren't honest about their feelings, their grief, their struggles, their whatever. And I decided that I wouldn't hide my grief from Haven, wouldn't make her responsible to care for me and take care of me. But I refused to hide the fact that I was having a bad day. When I was crying, she would see that. She had seen so many multiple breakdowns. She even got to the point where she could smell when I was sad. And still sometimes she was like, Mama, you smell sad. Are you okay? And now she has trauma from watching her mother go through so much trauma. And I can't say that that's better or worse than hiding it and pretending I'm all okay. And so I made the choice and I stuck with that choice, but it's not without its trauma too. Haven and we've always had a very close relationship, and we are closer than ever. And I know trauma bonding is a big thing, but we have so much joy together, and we have a shorthand language together that and so she is the person that I am closest to on this earth, that I love the most, that I understand the most, I know the same goes the other way. I don't know if that answered your question.
I think that was very, very to the point. And at the end of every podcast, besides offering a prescription for hope, which you can cash anywhere, we offer another one. Fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Unplug your television and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest that you fish without bait. Do a kindness for yourself and do a kindness for another. Forgive yourself and forgive another. Till all are free, none are free. Namaste.
Please check out our website at fishingwithoutbait.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on our discussions, and find out where you can subscribe to our podcast. If you're interested in flying the colors of Fishing Without Bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.